I bid you a warm welcome, friend, and invite you to sit with me in a quiet space of reflection. Let me introduce myself as an older soul who has navigated many passages in life, gleaned a few insights from Stoic writings, and witnessed how people's bodies and minds evolve, or fail to evolve, under the currents of time. I do not claim any special authority, just a perspective shaped by Stoic reasoning and the ordinary observations of one who has paid attention. I'd like to share thoughts on a curious phenomenon, how certain individuals come to look younger than their chronological years might suggest. And I will do so in a long human voice, weaving in Stoic philosophy and lessons from. Now, if you are new here, please like the video and subscribe. Statistics show that only 15% of my audience is subscribed to the channel, so if this content has helped you in any way, I ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let me begin by recalling a moment from my earlier adult life when I first encountered a man whose appearance defied the usual expectations. He was well into what most would call middle age, but he carried himself with an ease and vitality that made him appear a decade younger. His skin, though not immune to the lines of experience, seemed to glow with a certain life, and his posture exuded energy without manic tension. Some quietly asked if he had found a secret path to preserving youth. Over the months, as I observed him, I realized that his seeming agelessness stemmed not from fancy lotions or extreme diets, but from a set of habits, an attitude toward adversity, and a daily Stoic discipline that shaped his expression, his manner, and even how he handled stress. The external shell of youthfulness was, in essence, a byproduct of an internal alignment with reason and certain virtues. In Stoic philosophy, we often speak of living in accordance with nature, meaning we strive to align ourselves with reason and to accept what lies beyond our power. It might not be obvious at first glance that this approach can influence how one physically appears to others. Yet think about the tension lines on a face shaped by chronic anxiety, or the stooped posture of someone burdened by regrets or envy. Over years, these mental states can etch themselves into our features. By contrast, the Stoic approach to life, calm acceptance of what we cannot change, measured action in what we can, often yields a subtle serenity that touches our expressions, even how we carry ourselves in motion. One might call that intangible quality a sort of youthful lightness, not naive, but free from the heavy illusions that contort so many. So if we are to talk about the hidden reasons someone might look younger, it is worth recognizing that a Stoic posture toward life can have real physical manifestations. Now, I speak here not to push a formula for eternal youth, nor to claim that Stoicism is some miracle cure. We age, wrinkles come, hair may thin or whiten. The Stoics do not fight those changes. They see them as part of the natural order. But there is a difference between the inevitable marks of time and the accelerated wear that stress, negativity, or illusions can place on our bodies. If we can lighten that additional load, we might preserve a more vigorous mien, moving with a certain agility that belies our years. Freed from illusions, a Stoic mind navigates daily friction without letting it deposit anxiety in every muscle. Freed from envy, we do not brood over others' fortunes, scowling at perceived injustices. Freed from regrets, we do not let old mistakes shape our posture in endless guilt. Freed from that negativity, our faces and bodies can remain more at ease. I suspect many do not realize that the Stoic approach to adversity also fosters better self-care, if approached wisely. One might see a Stoic's measured approach to diet or exercise as part of living rationally. You do not indulge in destructive binges because you understand that your body is the vessel of your actions, worthy of moderate respect. Conversely, you do not become fanatical about perfect health because Stoicism warns against extremes and illusions of total bodily control. You find a balanced regimen, ensuring daily movement, enough rest, decent nutrition, all while accepting that no regimen can guarantee immortality. That acceptance lifts a huge emotional burden. You do what you can for health, free from illusions of perpetual youth, thus ironically preserving a more youthful vigor than if you teeter between reckless neglect and frantic overcompensation. Freed from illusions, your day includes a mild physical discipline, consistent but not obsessive, letting your body remain functional and lively. Let me share a personal recollection. In my late 30s, I was working long hours, fueling myself on quick snacks and ignoring exercise. Over time, I noticed I felt older than I was, shoulders slumping, eyes dulled by chronic fatigue. A chance encounter with a Stoic text reminded me that my body was not simply a shell, but a resource I needed to maintain for moral duties. I decided to adopt a modest daily walk, a short stretching routine, and slightly more mindful eating. No extreme diets or punishing workouts, just a reasoned Stoic approach that recognized the need to preserve my instrument for life's tasks. Within months, my sense of energy returned, and acquaintances commented that I appeared fresher, or that my face had regained color. Freed from illusions of extremes, that small Stoic pivot helped me recenter physically and mentally, giving me a calmer presence that some labeled younger. I realized that the illusions of "I have no time for health" had quietly aged me, while Stoic discipline quietly reversed a portion of that downward slide. Moving on from that personal anecdote, let us consider how the Stoic stance on emotional reactivity can shape one's outer aura. If you look at the features of those chronically weighed down by anger or resentment, you often notice tightened jaws, furrowed brows, and a tension that can make them appear older or drained. Stoicism, by advocating measured responses to provocations, helps individuals remain calmer, showing mild or no reaction to petty slights that do not truly matter. Over time, that composure might translate into fewer permanent lines of vexation, a more relaxed expression, and perhaps a smoother brow than those forever scowling. Freed from illusions that every insult demands a furious retort, you do not carry that bitterness in your face. Freed from illusions that the entire world is out to sabotage you, you do not constantly wear the defensive posture that fosters deeper lines of worry. This is not magic, but the natural effect of mental states upon the body's resting expression. Consider a story from my circle. A friend named Claudia, who once was quick to anger, found her eyes always narrowing in irritability, her mouth set in a perpetual grimace. This gave her a harsher appearance, which some might call older or haggard. After reading Stoic texts, she began practicing daily reflection, noticing how many trivial matters triggered her. She experimented with the Stoic pause, counting a moment or two before reacting. Gradually, as she learned to let go of petty frustrations, her expression softened. People commented that she seemed more radiant, almost younger, as if a weight had lifted. Freed from illusions that every slight was personal or that she must correct every perceived offense, she spent her hours more peacefully, focusing on bigger aims or genuine joys. While she joked about Stoicism being her beauty regimen, there was truth in it. A calmer mind does reflect outwardly, a hidden reason some appear younger than their chronological years might imply. We must also acknowledge a dimension that might appear intangible: the role of purposeful engagement in preserving a youthful spirit. Stoics caution us not to drift passively, but to invest ourselves in moral or constructive pursuits, whether it be a craft, a community service, an intellectual journey, or a simpler daily routine that fosters a sense of meaning. People who remain engaged in such pursuits often exhibit an enthusiasm and spark that defy age. Freed from illusions that "it's too late to learn" or "I'm too old to care," they keep exploring, keep refining, keep contributing. That mental and emotional engagement can reflect in a spark in the eyes, a lively posture, and an overall aura that observers interpret as youthfulness. Meanwhile, the cynic or the disillusioned might slump into inactivity, letting stagnation define them, which Stoics see as contrary to living in harmony with nature's call for reasoned action. Freed from illusions that their best days are behind them, Stoics might pick up a new hobby at 50 or delve into philosophy at 60, carrying that sense of curiosity that can lighten the face and posture. I recall an older neighbor who began learning a new language well into his 70s, purely out of interest in connecting with certain cultural texts. The delight he took in practicing phrases each morning gave him an almost childlike gleam, making him appear more youthful than some men decades younger who had resigned themselves to boredom. Let me also delve into how Stoic acceptance of life's flux can prevent the kind of worry that physically ages many. We see how some individuals, clinging to illusions of absolute certainty or control, crumble under stress when unpredictability arises. That stress can lead to restless nights, cortisol spikes, and the mirrored aging effects on face and body. Stoics, by acknowledging from the outset that the universe is not ours to command, that fortune can shift, remain braced not with tension, but with readiness. Freed from illusions, they prepare rationally where they can, but do not try to micromanage fate. Over the years, that yields a calmer baseline, fewer nights lost to frantic speculation, fewer lines etched by constant dread. Freed from illusions that we must solve every cosmic puzzle, Stoics glean a sense of proportion. If a crisis hits, they respond, but they do not exist in perpetual alarm mode. This equilibrium can preserve a certain freshness that others might interpret as looking younger. Though truly it is the outward sign of a mind not perpetually battered by illusions of catastrophic expectation. I recall a coworker who practiced Stoic acceptance whenever corporate restructuring rumors swirled. Others stressed about every rumor, developing anxious habits that weighed on their features. He simply said, "I'll keep doing my best, remain open to new roles if needed." Freed from illusions that rumor chasing helped anything, he retained a calm that seemed to keep him more energetic, less fatigued by the same environment. A further factor is how Stoics handle triumph or success. Often, people who chase success fixate on it so intensely that once they achieve it, they either plunge into new anxieties about losing it or become inflated with pride. Both states, fear of loss or arrogant strain, can yield tension that physically burdens them. Freed from illusions that external success defines them, Stoics greet achievements with a measured gratitude, acknowledging the ephemeral nature of fortune, continuing their daily discipline. That gentle stance spares them the frenetic sense of needing to defend a precarious pedestal, thus preserving a relaxed demeanor. Over time, that relaxed demeanor might appear as a certain glow that others see in content individuals, giving an impression of youthfulness compared to those who cling to success with white-knuckled desperation. Freed from illusions, Stoics remain humble, letting them enjoy success without the stress that often accompanies it. People might comment that Stoic men or women who succeed do not look as haggard as typical high achievers because they refuse to define themselves purely by external metrics. In Stoic parlance, success is not an anchor of identity, merely an event that might come or go, best met with reason and perspective. Now, let me weave in an example from a friend who ran a business. After a major breakthrough and financial windfall, he noticed how many new worries piled up. Fear that future quarters would not match up, that the competition might overshadow him, or that employees would demand more. He initially sank into frenetic attempts to control everything, losing sleep and adopting a rigid posture. Observers commented that he seemed to have aged overnight, circles under his eyes, lines on his brow. Then he rediscovered Stoicism from his youth, recalling that external wealth was not the final measure. He began clarifying what he could truly influence, like ensuring fair management, budgeting responsibly, and letting go of illusions about total market control. Freed from illusions, he started delegating more, sleeping better, and ironically, carrying himself with an ease that rolled back the tense look he had acquired. Colleagues noticed he seemed younger or more alive, though the difference was that Stoic acceptance had replaced the illusions that gnawed at him after success. Freed from illusions, his body language reverted to a calmer baseline, preserving a sense of vitality. I must also mention the role of consistent Stoic reflection, akin to a daily mental cleaning, in sustaining that intangible brightness. Each evening or morning, a Stoic might ask, "Where did I let illusions or negative impulses guide me yesterday? Did I gossip, complain, or slip into envy?" Freed from illusions, you mark those moments. Plan a corrective approach for today. Such reflection ensures illusions do not accumulate to the point that they shape your default expression or posture. Freed from illusions daily, you remain flexible, adjusting your direction rather than letting petty negativity linger. Over time, that fosters an inner lightness that can reflect outward. It is akin to emotional or mental hygiene. Freed from illusions, you do not carry day after day of unresolved conflict or stale resentment. People who practice this Stoic journaling or reflection often say they rest better at night, wake less burdened, and face the day with a more youthful spirit, even as birthdays accumulate. Observers might marvel at how they remain young at heart, though from a Stoic vantage, it is simply the fruit of persistent moral housekeeping, ensuring illusions do not root themselves in the mind. And so, let me summarize the Stoic thesis. Looking younger than your chronological age often has hidden underpinnings that revolve around mental stance and daily discipline. Freed from illusions that you must yield to negativity, destructive stress, or illusions of constant control, you preserve a certain vitality that Stoics interpret as harmony with reason. Freed from illusions about needing others' unending approval or competing in every trivial domain, you handle adversity with a calmer outlook that fosters restful nights and a pliant body. Freed from illusions, your posture, facial expressions, and lifestyle choices shift in subtle ways, conveying an aura of well-being. And while Stoics do not chase youthfulness as an end, they see how discarding illusions fortifies us physically as well as mentally, often giving an outer glow that others interpret as youth. In the next sections, we will delve deeper into more specific Stoic principles that might help maintain that sense of youth, exploring how daily Stoic habits or a Stoic approach to emotional surges can have surprising benefits for your outward demeanor. We will also reflect on how Stoic acceptance of aging itself coexists with these qualities, ensuring we do not cling to illusions of eternal youth, but rather greet each new line or ache with serene acknowledgement while still preserving a youthful spirit. For Stoic philosophy does not claim to freeze time or override nature's laws, but it can reduce the wear and tear of illusions that accelerate the signs of age. That nuance is crucial. We remain mortal, with each year leaving its mark. Yet Stoic reason can keep the mind and, to an extent, the body from collapsing under the burdens we need not carry. So let this be the foundation of our discussion. Having glimpsed how Stoic living fosters the intangible grace that can make a person appear younger, we will continue to explore more targeted Stoic habits, like negative visualization, daily reflection, mindful acceptance, that can anchor us in calm fortitude. Through each anecdote and reflection, may you sense that your own life, too, can stand free from illusions that age us prematurely. Freed from illusions, we discover a more vital way of being, unencumbered by needless stress, more open to joy, and ironically reminiscent of youth, even as we walk further along life's path. Sit with me again, friend, and let us continue this extended reflection on how one might appear younger than the calendar years suggest, all through the lens of Stoic philosophy and other resonant teachings. In the previous part, I spoke of a general perspective, how letting go of needless tensions, illusions, and fixations can yield a certain vitality that others perceive as youthfulness. Now, in this second segment, I wish to go deeper, sharing stories and examples to illuminate the specific mental practices, particularly those championed by the Stoics, that not only guard us against premature aging, but also nurture an internal grace that subtly radiates outward. I speak again as one who has watched time's footprints and realized that our mental posture can magnify or lessen the marks of age far more than we might suspect at first glance. Let me do this in a tone that hopefully remains personal and alive, resisting any mechanical listing of points so that you can sense the human dimension behind each idea. I recall a period in my 40s when I was introduced to the power of daily reflection, a practice championed by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and other Stoic figures. I had read about it for months, but never committed. One night, beset by anxieties about finances, drifting relationships, and the sense that the prime of youth was slipping away, I finally decided to try. Before bed, I lit a small lamp, took a notebook, and wrote for about 15 minutes about the day's events. I asked myself questions reminiscent of the Stoic approach. Which illusions did I cling to today? Did I let envy or resentment color my interactions? Did I waste mental energy on trifling disputes? Freed from illusions, I documented, in honest detail, a few moments where anger flared or discouragement weighed me down. Then I ended by clarifying in short phrases how I might handle a similar scenario tomorrow. That simple routine, repeated nightly, soon became a form of mental hygiene. Over weeks, I noticed how fewer frustrations lodged themselves in my mind overnight, letting me sleep more peacefully. And and with better rest came a subtle improvement in my energy and appearance. I realized that Stoic daily reflection had done more than reduce stress. It had likely helped me avoid the tense face or weary eyes that chronic nighttime worry can produce. Freed from illusions that I had to carry every regret or annoyance forever, I gave them voice in the journal, gleaned lessons, then let them rest. But let me not paint daily reflection as a cure-all. It's more of a Stoic vantage that ensures illusions do not pile up. If we compare ourselves to a person who, each night, plays out the day's slights or unprocessed anger in their mind, it is not surprising that over time their face might reveal exhaustion, their demeanor might slump. Freed from illusions through journaling, Stoics remain agile, adjusting course each evening, unburdened by extended brooding. People sometimes comment that such Stoic men or women seem younger, but truly, it is the fruit of not dragging yesterday's negativity into tomorrow. Freed from illusions, we greet each morning with a mind more open to new joys. Parallel to daily reflection stands negative visualization, a Stoic technique that, ironically, can lighten the mind and reduce the kind of worry or anxiety that often accelerates aging. Let me elaborate. Negative visualization involves periodically imagining the loss of what we cherish or fear might vanish: health, a job, a relationship, so that we remind ourselves of impermanence and learn to appreciate what remains. How does that help one look younger? Well, consider how many lines of worry we etch on our faces by constantly stressing about losing what we have. Negative visualization, done calmly, paradoxically diminishes that stress by normalizing the idea that life is fragile, that changes will come, and that we can endure. Freed from illusions of permanent security, we become less frantic in holding on. That mental release fosters fewer bouts of panic, more day-to-day gratitude. Over the years, that sense of acceptance and gratitude can lend a more relaxed, even cheerful cast to our expressions. Freed from illusions, we do not appear haunted or desperate. Freed from illusions, we embrace what we have while it is here. The resulting ease is something observers might label a certain youthfulness, as the face is not overshadowed by chronic fear. Imagine someone who constantly frets about losing wealth or status, letting that worry overshadow each meal or conversation. Over time, the tension can become visible in hunched shoulders and a pinched brow. Compare that to the Stoic who, practicing negative visualization, invests rationally, does what's needed to maintain stability, but does not fear that losing wealth means losing self. Freed from illusions, the Stoic invests emotional energy into learning or relationships rather than anxiety. That mental shift can yield a lighter, more engaged presence that others read as younger or more spirited. Freed from illusions, you do not burn out your nervous system with perpetual stress hormones, thus preserving physical vitality. Another Stoic tradition that fosters a youthful aura is the practice of voluntary simplicity. Occasionally living with fewer comforts or luxuries to remind ourselves that we can manage just fine with less than we typically rely on. You might wonder how that ties to looking younger. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, after reading Seneca, decided he would once a month live very simply for a weekend, eating only basic foods, wearing older clothes, perhaps sleeping in a more rustic setting. He reported that it gave him a fresh perspective, releasing the mental burden of, "I must always keep up with expensive tastes or endless material wants." Freed from illusions, he discovered a baseline of contentment in simplicity. Over time, that mental shift reduced the stress associated with chasing status-based possessions. He found that his nights improved, as he no longer felt compelled to outdo neighbors or colleagues. Freed from illusions about needing constant upgrades, he saved money, had fewer items to maintain, and ironically found more time for physical activity and creative hobbies. Soon, he appeared more relaxed, less weighed down by the contrived seriousness that can come from material competition. Observers might have said he seemed younger or more spry, but stoically, we'd see that it was the result of letting go illusions about possessions being crucial to identity. Freed from illusions, we lighten our environment and, by extension, the weight on our psyche. Let us pivot to the question of how Stoics handle interpersonal friction in a manner that wards off the aged look of chronic tension. One key Stoic habit is practicing the Stoic pause, breathing and taking a moment before responding to provocation. This guards against knee-jerk anger that leads to heated fights, emotional breakdowns, or ruminations that linger on the face as scowls or tightness. Freed from illusions that every conflict demands an immediate reaction, Stoics remain more composed, releasing anger before it seeps into their posture and expression. I recall seeing two men in a dispute. One launched insults, face reddening, voice raised. The other, adopting a stoic posture, listened, paused, asked a clarifying question. He refused to hurl insults back. Over time, the tension deflated and the first man cooled. Later, people remarked that the stoic man never let it show in his face, retaining an almost youthful calm. Freed from illusions that a raging confrontation is inevitable, he kept his mind and body unmarked by strain. Multiply that scenario across years of daily interactions, and you realize how stoic restraint might literally shape a more composed aura, which can appear as younger or less careworn compared to those forever embroiled in emotional storms. Another subtle aspect is stoic acceptance of aging itself. Paradoxical as it may sound, can lead to a younger impression. Many people, refusing to accept the natural progression of age, become frantic, buying extreme solutions, chasing illusions of eternal youth, feeling despair at each wrinkle. That frantic approach often amplifies stress, ironically giving them an air of desperation that can age them more. Freed from illusions about outsmarting time, Stoics approach aging as part of the cosmic order, focusing on maintaining reason, moral purpose, and healthy routines. If a new line on the face appears, Stoics greet it calmly as a sign of experience. Freed from illusions of halting the clock, they remain at peace, which can paradoxically keep them from the tension-driven aging that stems from resisting the inevitable. This acceptance, ironically, can preserve a certain gentle glow. People see no flustered fear or self-consciousness about birthdays. Instead, they see a calm readiness that ages gracefully, reflecting dignity that some read as youthfulness in spirit. Freed from illusions, Stoics do not hide their years. They simply carry them lightly. Let me illustrate with a personal anecdote. I once was invited to a reunion. Many old acquaintances fussed anxiously. Do I look older than the rest? Shall I dye my hair or get quick fixes? Freed from illusions, I decided to go as I was, only ensuring a neat presentation. I reminded myself that while I might appear older in certain ways, my stoic posture, my calm spirit, would hopefully show through. Indeed, at the gathering, I noticed some who came with forced youthfulness, overly chasing a youthful aesthetic, yet emanating stress. Meanwhile, freed from illusions, I felt surprisingly relaxed. At least a few people commented that I seemed unchanged or younger in demeanor, though physically I carried the normal signs of age. I realized that acceptance, ironically, had made me appear at ease, while others, contorting themselves with the illusions of halting time, seemed more rattled. Freed from illusions, I discovered that stoic calm can lend a dynamic presence that outshines the superficial markers of age. We can also see how stoic-laced humility fosters a certain childlike openness, which in turn can read as youthfulness. Humility in stoic terms is about acknowledging how much we do not know, how the pursuit of wisdom is endless. People who remain open to learning new things, listening genuinely to fresh voices, or adopting new hobbies never become stale. Freed from illusions that, I already know enough, they keep exploring. That endless willingness to explore can animate the eyes, lighten the face, making them appear more vibrant than those who gave up on learning. Freed from illusions, Stoics realize that the cosmos is vast, and each day might present an opportunity to glean insights from a younger generation, a different culture, or a new field of study. Over decades, that approach yields a nimble mind, often translating to a more lively expression as well. Observers might remark, "You still have such curiosity," as if it is a sign of youth. Indeed, it is more a sign of stoic humility, recognizing we are always novices in some domain, never done gleaning from life. Freed from illusions, we sustain a spark that outwardly might mask a few wrinkles or crow's feet, with a subtle glow of engaged wonder. Finally, let me highlight how Stoics find meaning in community or service, which can reduce the heavy lines that come from self-absorption or existential aimlessness. Some men or women who revolve entirely around themselves or their personal gain end up battered by a sense of emptiness. Freed from illusions that self-interest alone suffices, Stoics often direct energies to shared endeavors or philanthropic gestures, no matter how modest. Over time, such altruistic engagement fosters a warmth in them that others interpret as a youthful spirit. Freed from illusions, they do not see life purely as a race to accumulate achievements or possessions. They see it as a chance to contribute, to practice virtue in the public sphere. Freed from illusions about their own importance, they find joy in helping or uplifting others. That joy can reflect in a brightness of face, a posture that is not overshadowed by cynicism or cynic-driven lines. Freed from illusions, they remain outward-looking, noticing the needs of the community, forging deeper connections. Observers might sense a childlike generosity in them, reminiscent of the unguarded kindness of youth. Freed from illusions, Stoics unify their desire to do good with rational boundaries so they do not burn out. That blend often keeps them engaged, positive, and surprisingly vital as years progress. Gathering these threads, we see a consistent Stoic pattern: letting go illusions that feed negativity or mania, adopting daily reasoned practices like journaling, negative visualization, or moderate self-care, embracing humility that fosters constant learning, and aligning with virtue or service that wards off the cynical edge. The outward effect can be a face and posture that exude a certain lighter energy, a physical reflection of an unburdened mind. Freed from illusions, we do not float through life ignoring real problems, but we do not let them weigh us down with unnecessary worry or bitterness. Freed from illusions, we recognize aging's inevitability, preserving a sense of acceptance that ironically keeps us from the tension that ages many prematurely. Freed from illusions, we adapt physically as needed, ensuring consistent activity or rest, trusting that no extreme measure can halt time, but rational moderation can keep us agile. Freed from illusions, we remain open to new things, staving off the stagnation that can make the spirit old long before the body truly matures. Hence, the deeper Stoic lesson is not that you must chase a youthful image, but that the Stoic approach to life, wise acceptance, calm reflection, emotional restraint in adversity, and moral orientation, often yields a secondary benefit, a presence that others read as younger than your chronological count. Indeed, some Stoics might hardly care about that impression, but it stands as a testament to the synergy between mind and body. Freed from illusions, the mind does not forcibly weigh the body with invisible burdens. People notice. If asked your secret, you might just say, "I aim to live simply, avoid pointless negativity, stay engaged with what matters," echoing Stoic ideals in plain language. Freed from illusions, you do not claim supernatural methods or magic potions. You speak of discipline, reflection, reason, acceptance. Common sense, but rarely practiced in a world that worships speed, drama, and illusions. In the next segments, we will expand on these Stoic practices more concretely, offering further personal stories or explorations of how Stoics handle advanced challenges, like severe health shifts or unexpected tragedies, in ways that preserve this intangible youthfulness of spirit. For the Stoic approach does not guarantee a life free of heartbreak. It ensures heartbreak does not carve itself too deeply into our expressions or posture, for illusions do not compound the sorrow. Freed from illusions, we face heartbreak with honest sorrow, but not with the spiraling negativity that might age us beyond our years. If that resonates, I invite you to keep reading. Perhaps by the end of our extended conversation, you will sense a renewed impetus to refine your daily habits, letting Stoic reason shape your interactions so that you not only find mental serenity, but also discover a surprising outward glow. Your own unique reflection of an inner calm that defies mere chronological progression. Let us journey further into how a certain youthful aura can arise from a life guided by Stoic principles. I have been describing how letting go of illusions, be they about external success, unremitting control, or raging emotional impulses, can subtly preserve a vitality that others sometimes interpret as looking younger than your chronological age. In this third portion of our discussion, I will delve into deeper waters. How Stoics respond to more extreme or unexpected events, major disappointments, medical issues, relational breakdowns, and how that response helps sustain not just inner resilience, but also an outward buoyancy that defies the usual ravages of stress. If the first two segments addressed everyday habits and mental stances, Now we explore what happens under bigger storms and how Stoic composure during those storms can keep the flame of youth alive in the eyes and posture of the one who endures. You have now reached the halfway mark of the video. I congratulate you for trying to become a better version of yourself. And I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better every day," so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today, and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. Allow me to begin with a memory from my 50s, when a dear friend of mine, let me call her Lydia, underwent a significant health crisis. She had always been a vital presence, carrying a Stoic inclination, though she never labeled it such. One day, she was diagnosed with a serious but treatable condition. The treatments would be lengthy, draining. People around her expected the illness to wear her down, not just physically, but emotionally. And indeed, the physical toll did appear in certain ways. She lost some weight, her hair thinned. Yet what struck us all was how Lydia's demeanor, her essence, retained a spark. She moved more slowly, yes, but she still radiated a calm acceptance that kept her face and eyes from sinking into despair. Freed from illusions that she could guarantee immediate recovery, she allowed the healing process to unfold, focusing on the daily tasks she could control: medication schedules, mild walks, a nutritious but moderate diet. Meanwhile, she refused to feed self-pity or the illusions that her illness made her worthless. Freed from illusions about immortality, she neither raged nor sank into gloom. That Stoic stance preserved in her an ageless quality, an almost serene aura. We saw it in how she greeted each caretaker, how her voice remained level, how she still found quiet joys like reading or gentle conversation. Though physically battered, her face kept a certain luminosity that belied the ordeal. After some months, she emerged from treatment. Those who had not seen her during the ordeal were astonished that, aside from a few physical signs, she seemed almost unchanged, carrying that unflappable presence. Freed from illusions, Lydia had prevented the mental meltdown that can leave deeper lines of anguish than the disease itself. This story captures a Stoic principle: that major adversity does not have to break our spirit, nor must it stamp harsh lines of defeat on our countenance. Indeed, we cannot always halt physical decline or scarring, but we can avoid compounding it with illusions of doom or bitterness that manifest in a chronically furrowed brow or sunken posture. Freed from illusions, we approach each setback systematically. Do what is in our power, accept the rest. That calm acceptance can yield a subtler, gentler expression, which often looks surprisingly youthful compared to the frantic or embittered face so many wear when confronted with misfortune. Consider another dimension. Stoic individuals remain proactive in preparing for possible disruptions, but do not dwell in anxious obsession. This preparedness can reduce panic when a crisis hits. Freed from illusions that everything will always be smooth, they might keep some financial buffer or maintain a broad skill set. Should a job vanish or a natural disaster strike, the Stoic has some contingencies. As a result, they do not suffer the etched lines of sudden terror or the meltdown that might accelerate aging in spirit and face. Freed from illusions that they can control each event, they let readiness be their ally. Over a lifetime, this posture wards off certain levels of chronic stress that can weigh one down, mentally and physically. It is not that Stoics live in gloom, expecting the worst, but that they calmly accept that trouble can arise and they do not rely on illusions of guaranteed comfort. Freed from illusions, they remain balanced, neither naive nor paranoid. Observers might see in them a consistent, untroubled gaze that does not dull with each rumor or crisis. Freed from illusions, they can remain outwardly composed and inwardly flexible, two qualities that contribute to an impression of youth, for they lack the frantic eyes or stooped shoulders of one who panics at every unknown. Let me illustrate with an anecdote about a colleague named Martin who faced a sudden corporate downsizing. Many around him spiraled into meltdown, worrying they had no plan B. Martin, though, had read Stoic works and had made sure to cultivate extra skills outside his main role. He also kept a bit of a financial cushion. When the layoff notice came, he met it with measured acceptance, quickly pivoting to short-term freelance while searching for a stable position. Freed from illusions that the company owed him permanence, he never wore the haunted look of despair some others bore. He still felt the sting, but Stoic reflection helped him interpret the event not as personal doom, but as a shift in fortune that he could respond to rationally. Freed from illusions, Martin avoided the emotional meltdown that might carve deeper lines on a face or make one move in a hunched, defeated manner. Within a few months, he secured new work. Friends marveled that he seemed unchanged, physically or in spirit, while those who had collapsed in negativity often emerged looking more haggard. Freed from illusions, Martin's calm stance literally preserved a more energetic aura that some might call young for his age. We see then how Stoic responses in times of crisis can either accelerate or delay the usual signs of stress that accumulate. Freed from illusions, we do not sink precious time into woe is me talk or indulging heartbreak with no constructive steps. Freed from illusions, we do not let resentment or shame fester. Freed from illusions, we do not chase illusions of guaranteed success that lead to heartbreak when they vanish. This alignment with Stoic clarity helps keep the mind flexible, the heart at peace, and the body from bearing the brunt of chronic tension. Now let me shift to another aspect. Stoic men and women frequently demonstrate a certain lightheartedness that others can mistake for youthfulness, though it is actually a reflection of Stoic acceptance. People sometimes assume Stoics are grim, but that is a caricature. True Stoicism acknowledges life's brevity and unpredictability, which can lead to cherishing each fleeting moment of beauty or humor. Freed from illusions, Stoics do not cling to forced solemnity. They can laugh gently at minor mishaps, remain gracious in awkward situations, or find humble pleasure in small delights. A well-cooked meal, a warm sunrise. The small lines that form from genuine smiles or mild amusement can appear more benevolent than the lines formed from scowling or forced Stoic severity. Over decades, Stoics may develop the sort of smile lines that often read as youthful warmth. Freed from illusions about needing to maintain a perpetually stern face, they allow authentic humor or delight to show. Observers note an air of contentment, not trivial laughter, but a poised readiness to appreciate the lighter side of existence. That calm humor fosters easy social bonds, another factor that can keep one engaged and less prone to the isolation that sometimes accelerates aging in spirit and outward form. Let me recall a scene from a Stoic friend's household, where a minor domestic mishap, some spilled groceries, led to comedic splattering. Instead of enraged yelling or meltdown, he paused, offered a wry grin at the absurdity, and said, "Well, I suppose we're testing our cleaning speed today." Freed from illusions that every mishap is a calamity, he turned the moment into a mild comedic break. This approach, repeated in countless small upsets, prevented the negativity that might contort faces or place tension in shoulders. Freed from illusions about cosmic perfection, Stoics see small fiascos as part of life's texture, reacting with minimal stress, which can indeed help preserve a more relaxed, youthful presence. Freed from illusions, they adapt with a flexible humor that wards off the deeper lines of perpetual frustration. Another trait that might keep one looking younger is how Stoics handle rest and sleep. Indeed, from a Stoic vantage, it is irrational to sacrifice needed sleep to illusions of constant productivity or the fear of missing out. Freed from illusions that you must stay up half the night scrolling or proving your busyness, you accept that the mind and body demand rest to function properly. A Stoic does not treat rest as laziness, but as a strategic investment in clarity. Over the long term, that consistent, adequate sleep might reduce the dark circles or the slack posture that can age a person prematurely. Freed from illusions about being superhuman, you retire at a reasonable hour, or at least guard a segment of your day for true rest. Others might ask how you keep such a fresh face or how you manage not to look constantly drained. Freed from illusions, you simply follow nature's call for restful nights. This small Stoic discipline, repeated daily, fosters both mental calm and outward glow. Now let us address Stoic honesty, transparency in words and deeds. Deception or hidden agendas can weigh heavily on the conscience, leading to stress that lines the face. Freed from illusions, Stoics realize that manipulative cunning may yield short-term advantage, but fosters an inner tension that eventually surfaces in posture or expression. By living with honest straightforwardness, Stoics avoid the mental clutter of remembering half-truths or fearing exposure. Freed from illusions, their mind remains calmer, and that calm can reflect outward. People might see their candid speech or unguarded demeanor as youthful authenticity, unburdened by the cynical posture of someone who constantly wonders if they'll be found out. Freed from illusions, Stoics simply speak truth with courtesy, handle repercussions as they come, and sleep more soundly. Over time, that approach can reduce the mental friction that physically ages many who lead double lives or craft false images. Freed from illusions, Stoic honesty might ironically preserve a certain innocence in the face, reminiscent of youth, though it is underpinned by deliberate moral choice rather than naive ignorance. Another hidden reason for a youthful aura is how Stoics navigate self-expectations. If you place unrealistic demands on yourself, believing you must be perfect at everything, never err, never let anyone down, you often spiral into anxiety or guilt that physically weighs on your appearance. Freed from illusions of perfection, Stoics accept human limitations, acknowledging that errors or partial successes are part of growth. That acceptance saves mental energy, prevents the constant scolding of oneself that can carve anxious lines on the brow. Freed from illusions, Stoics set reasoned goals, do their best, adapt if they fall short, and move on. Over a lifetime, that reduces the swirl of self-flagellation that might otherwise accelerate the wearing out of body and mind. Observers might see the Stoic as self-assured, not burdened by the frantic tension that some carry when they tie their entire identity to unreachable ideals. Freed from illusions, the Stoic posture remains open, the face more relaxed in day-to-day tasks. Freed from illusions, they can correct errors without meltdown, retaining a certain poised energy reminiscent of the simpler confidence children sometimes have, though Stoics pair that with moral maturity. Let me share another personal memory. I once tried in middle age to master a new skill, wood carving, purely for the quiet joy of it. Early attempts were rough, and I felt the flicker of shame or annoyance that I wasn't instantly good. But Stoic reflection reminded me that skill building demands patience, that illusions of immediate mastery lead to frustration. Freed from illusions, I embraced the slow learning curve. Over months, I improved modestly, but more importantly, I let the process remain tranquil, untainted the stress of unrealistic demands. That mental calm during practice gave me an odd sense of childlike wonder, which might have radiated outward. Freed from illusions, I discovered that my face at the workbench was often relaxed, even quietly smiling, according to those who observed. Possibly this contributed to me appearing more lively or younger in those moments, all thanks to Stoic acceptance that it is fine to be a beginner, fine to stumble. Freed from illusions, the tension lines of forced achievement never formed, replaced by the gentle lines of curiosity and mild contentment. Finally, let me mention that Stoics see community and moral contributions as integral to a life well lived. Engaging in acts of kindness or collective betterment not only fosters spiritual growth, but it also can lighten the soul in a way that shows physically. Freed from illusions that your existence is purely self-centered, you find purpose in supporting neighbors, volunteering, or mentoring someone who can benefit from your knowledge. This purposeful outward focus often dissolves the petty concerns that age us faster. Freed from illusions, we do not revolve entirely around ourselves, thus escaping the vacuum of constant self-analysis that can lead to negativity. Freed from illusions, we direct energies outward, forming bonds, receiving the intangible warmth that comes from altruism. Over years, that intangible warmth can color your face with genuine compassion, rather than the drawn look of someone locked in self-absorption. Freed from illusions, you maintain an open posture that welcomes new interactions, possibly reminiscent of youth's readiness for camaraderie. Freed from illusions about cynicism or despair, you radiate a quiet optimism that defies calendar years, an optimism grounded in Stoic principle, not naive cheer. People might interpret that optimism as a sign that you remain youthful at heart. Thus, across these Stoic-laced narratives, dealing with adversity, daily reflection, acceptance of aging, moderate living, calm emotional regulation, humility in learning, moral synergy, and altruistic engagement, we see a tapestry of hidden reasons some appear younger than their actual age. They are hidden because the casual observer might think, "Oh, that person must have good genes or advanced skincare." Yet Stoic reflection shows that deeper forces are at play. Illusions can age us, while freedom from illusions can preserve a measure of vitality. Freed from illusions about controlling every outcome or clinging to external validations, we reduce the weight on mind and heart. Freed from illusions, we adopt simpler, more consistent care for our body and spirit. Freed from illusions, we foster a lightness that can ironically keep lines of worry from dominating our features. Freed from illusions, we become resilient, not burying anguish, but processing it calmly, thereby sparing ourselves the bitterness that often shows up in an older, hardened visage. In concluding this part, let me reiterate that Stoicism does not fixate on physical youth as an ultimate good. Marcus Aurelius wrote repeatedly about accepting the body's eventual decline. The Stoic aim is virtue, wisdom, alignment with reason. Yet as a secondary effect, that alignment can spare us from the accelerated aging that illusions often inflict. Freed from illusions, we remain in better harmony with nature's flow, acknowledging each day's potential joys and trials without letting them overshadow our spirit. The outward appearance is simply a reflection of that inward composure. Freed from illusions, we do not dread each new birthday, nor do we cling to fleeting vanities. Instead, we greet time with a sense of proportion, knowing we can refine our character even as hair grays or lines form. Paradoxically, that acceptance exudes a youthful freshness many find surprising. Freed from illusions, we keep a lively curiosity, a measured discipline, and a moral integrity that together form the intangible hallmark of a Stoic life. Often read by others as a certain youth of soul, no matter the number of years lived. If you have found yourself resonating with these reflections, I invite you to continue, for we will soon speak of the final unification, how daily Stoic habits, good physical routines, and acceptance of life's unpredictability can converge to produce that subtle yet profound effect. A countenance that remains spirited well beyond the thresholds many assume. Freed from illusions, we step into each phase of life with a quiet grace, bridging the wisdom of experience with the brightness of an unburdened heart. Settle back in, my friend, and let us bring our narrative to its conclusion, a weaving together of all we have discussed regarding those 7 hidden reasons why you look younger than your age, as viewed through a Stoic lens. In our earlier segments, we explored how everyday attitudes, emotional composure, acceptance of adversity, balanced self-care, humility in learning, moral clarity, and moderate engagement with life's joys all contribute to a certain vitality. We saw that this vitality can be perceived by others as youthfulness, but from a Stoic standpoint, it is more fundamentally about preserving mental clarity and moral alignment. Now, in this final part, I wish to shape these elements into a cohesive tapestry, offering a broader vision of how to sustain these qualities day to day, and how to handle the inevitable illusions that threaten to creep in. Perhaps by doing so, you will walk away with a deeper sense of how Stoicism can quietly grant an aura of freshness well beyond the numerical measure of your years. Let me begin with a story drawn from my later experience. I encountered a gentleman, call him James, who embodied the Stoic approach, though he might never have named it so. He was firmly into what many would call retirement age, yet possessed a posture and liveliness that defied assumptions. People half his age found it puzzling that he could maintain such vigor. On closer observation, I saw that he consistently practiced what one could call Stoic habits. Each morning he woke early to do mild stretches, then spent half an hour reading or reflecting on some moral or philosophical text. He had no illusions that frantic workouts or forced positivity would keep him forever young. Rather, he embraced moderate discipline, a balanced diet, no extremes, consistent hours of sleep. Freed from illusions about conquering age, he calmly accepted that certain limitations came with time. But he made the most of what remained in his domain. Regular walks, engaging with local community tasks, tutoring younger folks in a skill he had honed. Freed from illusions that he must prove himself better than younger men, he carried no chip on his shoulder. Freed from illusions that he was worthless due to his years, He exuded a quiet self-assurance. The resulting aura was a face marked by lines but lit by an inner peace. The gait that, though not as swift as in youth, remained steady and poised. In Stoic parlance, he had shaped his mind to flow with nature's changes rather than combat them through illusions, and that acceptance, ironically, preserved a spirit as lively as one might find in a younger person. Reflecting on James's example, we see that Stoicism is not about halting the biological clock, but about removing the additional burdens that can accelerate aging in mind and body. Freed from illusions, we do not illusion for each new gray hair or line, so we do not adopt a posture of frantic denial that leads to chronic stress. Freed from illusions, we invest daily in mild but consistent self-care, so we do not allow inertia or despair to let our bodies crumble prematurely. Freed from illusions, we do not let petty resentments or regrets carve deep lines of bitterness into our expressions. Instead, we keep short accounts with negativity, either solving the issue if we can or releasing it if we cannot. Freed from illusions, we greet successes and setbacks with equanimity, sparing ourselves the roller coaster that can overshadow our features. In summation, Stoicism fosters an approach to living that, over the decades, often yields a gentler aging trajectory, which outwardly can appear as if we are younger than we actually are. One might wonder, what if I have already spent years in negative habits, complaint, envy, or chaotic living, and see the toll in my face or posture? Is it too late to adopt these Stoic lessons? The Stoic answer is that each moment is a fresh chance to refine how we respond. Freed from illusions about irredeemable mistakes, we do not sink into fatalism, but see that the future remains partially within our domain. Perhaps we cannot erase all lines formed by past tension, but we can halt further damage or even soften our demeanor gradually. Freed from illusions that the Stoic path must be undertaken from youth, we begin where we are. We apply daily reflection to note illusions and illusions-based negativity that still cling to us. We practice negative visualization in small doses, so we come to appreciate what remains. Freed from illusions about the shortness of life, we resolve to fill the coming years with Stoic calm rather than illusions-based unrest. Over time, we might sense an intangible shift in the reflection we see in a mirror. The eyes calmer, the brow less clenched, the posture less weighed by invisible burdens. Observers might not pinpoint the reason, but they notice a less haggard look, as if we somehow rolled back stress. Freed from illusions, we do not hype it as miraculous, but let it stand as evidence that the mind's stance can shape the body's expression. Let me dwell on the Stoic principle of adapting to each new season of life, because this principle counters the illusions of either clinging to youth or succumbing to the stereotypes of old age. At each stage, Stoics ask, what is in my control here, and what is not? How can I act with reason and virtue, given my changing circumstances? Freed from illusions, we do not whine that we no longer have the athletic vigor of our 20s. We find new forms of exercise or hobbies suitable to our present capacity, maintaining a toned mind and a moderately fit body. Freed from illusions about needing to appear exactly as we did decades earlier, we accept the natural signs of experience while preventing undue stress from illusions. Freed from illusions about being too old to learn, we continue to explore intellectual or cultural avenues, keeping the spark that so often reads as youthfulness. Freed from illusions about being irrelevant, we remain involved in social or community roles that bring moral satisfaction. Over the years, that approach can lead to an environment of continuous engagement, one where the body is not left to atrophy under the gloom of, "It's all behind me." Observers might see that zest for life as unusual for someone of advanced age, attributing it to good genes. Yet from Stoic vantage, it stems from the refusal to adopt illusions that life's meaning or capacity for growth ends after a certain birthday. Freed from illusions, we keep discovering new ways to be vital. We can also see how Stoic living fosters balance in emotions that might otherwise erode health. For instance, anger, if indulged often, can lead to high blood pressure, chronic tension, and a hardened expression that saps the face's vibrancy. Stoics repeatedly instruct us to rein in anger by remembering that we cannot control others' misdeeds, only our own reasoned response. Freed from illusions that we must punish every slight or correct every ignorance, we let many minor irritations pass. Over time, that practice saves us from frequent surges of stress hormones that might accelerate aging. Freed from illusions, we approach conflict with calm speech, focusing on solutions or clarity, not raging out of pride. Freed from illusions, we let go quickly when a matter is small or beyond remedy. Observers might label us patient, easy to talk to, or mature beyond your years, which can ironically give a youthful warmth to the face. Fewer lines etched by fury. Freed from illusions, we might still stand firm on key moral principles. But even then, we do so without flaring temper, preserving an even countenance that some interpret as the composure of youth rather than the grimness of an embittered adult. Another factor is how Stoics handle victories or blessings. People often self-sabotage by letting success bring complacency or reckless indulgence, leading to decline. Freed from illusions, Stoics see success as fleeting, a chance to keep refining. Freed from illusions that they have arrived, they do not adopt the lazy posture of someone who feels they can now lounge without discipline. They maintain moderate routines, ensuring they do not physically or mentally degrade from complacency. Freed from illusions about indefinite fortune, they remain prudent, storing resources for times of need, thus avoiding the shock that can age one rapidly if fortune turns. Freed from illusions about being unstoppable, they keep humility, which fosters a stable emotional baseline, avoiding the inflated sense of power that can lead to destructive habits or arrogance. Over decades, that steadiness spares them from the sudden crash that others face when success recedes. Freed from illusions, they carry an unassailable calm, which again can appear outwardly as a youthful consistency, not battered by huge emotional highs or lows. Freed from illusions, they remain active and engaged, rather than sinking into a slothful comfort, thereby retaining the mental and physical liveliness often associated with younger folks. Let me share a final anecdote. A neighbor who, upon selling his small company, came into a good sum. People expected him to adopt a lavish lifestyle or brag incessantly. Instead, in Stoic fashion, he quietly established a modest home improvement, invested some in local philanthropic efforts, and pursued a personal interest in history studies. Freed from illusions that wealth guaranteed eternal ease, he placed his funds in balanced ways, but did not let them control him. Freed from illusions of greatness, he remained approachable and humble. Freed from illusions that leisure meant sloth, he used his freer schedule to maintain a healthy routine. Walks in the park, volunteering at a local reading program, exploring historical texts in the evenings. Observers remarked that he seemed younger by the month, not older, as though he discovered a second youth in his new freedom. Freed from illusions, he simply aligned with reason, moral synergy, and moderate living. Freed from illusions, he avoided the frantic expansions or indulgent parties that might have drained him physically and mentally. In Stoic terms, he was continuing his rational discipline despite the shift in external fortune, which helped him remain calm, physically vibrant, and mentally agile. As we approach the close of our script, let me remind you that none of this implies Stoics are impervious to aging or immune to sorrow. Wrinkles will come, hair may lighten, certain tasks become more demanding. Stoicism does not claim to defy nature's cycles. Rather, it shows how illusions, the illusions of total control, illusions of forcing others to comply, illusions that envy or complaint solve anything, illusions that success or youth can be forever, crush the spirit and accelerate the visible signs of wear. Freed from illusions, we greet each day with acceptance, focusing on what is rationally ours to shape and letting go of what is not. Freed from illusions, we adopt mild but consistent self-care, moderate emotional expression, an open mind to new learning, and a readiness to adapt to changes. Over the months and years, that approach yields a calmer presence, a posture unburdened by the baggage many carry. The body, to an extent, reflects that calmness in how we stand, move, smile, or rest. Freed from illusions, we remain less battered by negativity, which others might interpret as looking younger. Now, I will tie these threads into practical suggestions for daily routine, an integrated Stoic approach that fosters this intangible youthfulness. Each morning, upon rising, you might take a moment to reflect on the Stoic partition of control. What events lie beyond me today? What lies within my power to act upon? Freed from illusions, you center yourself on the tasks or moral choices you truly can handle, releasing dread about uncertain bigger events. Then, if feasible, engage in a short exercise or mindful walk that respects your body's current condition, upholding Stoic moderation in health. Freed from illusions that either overindulgence or frantic extremes are needed, you find a simple discipline that keeps circulation flowing, posture upright. Proceeding into the day, remain alert for illusions of envy, complaint, or forced arguments. When you sense them, recall that Stoic reason suggests you either address the matter calmly or let it pass. Freed from illusions, you do not let petty negativity overshadow your hours. If adversity arises, you handle it methodically, not fueling panic. Freed from illusions that meltdown helps, you keep your voice level, your mind clear. By evening, you set aside a brief Stoic reflection, scanning how illusions might have seeped in. Freed from illusions, you note them, vow to refine tomorrow, and rest well without carrying unresolved bitterness. Repeated daily, these Stoic mini-acts accumulate a mental grace that others perceive in your demeanor. Freed from illusions, you find a stable center that does not degrade your body with stress chemicals or tension. Freed from illusions, your face, your posture, your voice remain more aligned with a spirit of calm curiosity reminiscent of youth. Such an approach might not produce overnight transformation. Stoics never promise instant changes. But as the months pass, you might notice your outlook shifting in a manner that also influences how you appear physically. Freed from illusions, you do not slump under the imaginary weight of external demands. You stand more neutrally, perhaps breathing better. Freed from illusions about unresolved regrets or constant blame, your brow no longer furrows in prolonged gloom. Freed from illusions about needing everyone's approval, you speak with directness, maybe forming a subtle clarity in your expression that can read as youthful openness. Freed from illusions, your evenings do not dissolve in toxic browsing or complaining, so you greet each new day with more restful eyes. People around you might see that intangible bloom, calling it looking younger, though it truly arises from Stoic mental hygiene. Freed from illusions, you respond with humility, not letting their compliments feed vanity. You keep your Stoic course, gleaning each day's lessons, aware that life remains ephemeral, so best live it with reason and warmth. Thus, in finishing these 4 extended parts, I have tried to illustrate how Stoic insights intersect with the phenomenon of seeming younger than your chronological years. The fundamental Stoic principle is that illusions, be they about permanent youth, indefinite success, total control, or the necessity of dwelling in negativity, accelerate stress and aging. Freed from illusions, we adopt daily reasoned habits that lighten our mental load, leading to an outward reflection of calm. Freed from illusions, we see adversity as part of life's fabric, not a unique betrayal. Hence, we handle crises without letting them carve worry lines too deeply. Freed from illusions, we accept age's progression while maintaining the best of our moral and physical discipline, ironically preserving an inner vigor that can show on our face and posture. Freed from illusions, we remain curious, socially engaged, open to new experiences, which fosters a childlike spark no matter the numeric figure on a birth certificate. Freed from illusions, we neither cling to the illusions of halting time nor succumb to illusions of irrelevance. Freed from illusions, we embrace an existence that fosters dignity, clarity, and yes, a quiet luminosity that others often read as youthfulness. Let this entire script stand as an invitation to reflect on your own illusions, your own daily patterns, and how Stoic reasoning might gently reshape them so that over months or years, you might discover a calmer presence that resonates in your physical expression as well. This is not about chasing superficial compliments or harboring vanity. It is about living in a manner consistent with nature, reason, and virtue, thereby preventing the self-inflicted burdens that age us prematurely. Freed from illusions, we find that each day can be simpler, more tranquil, and ironically more vibrant. That vibrancy is something the world reads on our faces and in our movements, reflecting the Stoic secret that the surest path to a youthful glow is living each moment with moral clarity, acceptance of what we cannot change, and determined action where we can. In short, freed from illusions, we walk lightly upon the earth, and the earth, in turn, leaves lighter footprints on our bodies as the years pass. Now, If any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.